Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. So, yet another vlog, if you want to call it that. Vlog number 11. So, I don't know. This vlog is gonna be about many different things. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this a little bit, and what I'm trying to say. Here we go. We're going to talk about all kinds of things on this vlog. And one thing I want to talk about is my live stream. My live stream from from last night. It got really deep. It got deep at the very end of the stream. And the reason it got deep is because we started talking about, people and the mental state of people and mental state, the mind of people and how mind works, and I think it's a very important issue. I think it's an issue that's never nearly talked about enough. I don't see a politician talk about it. I barely see any politician talk about the mental state and mental issue. Now, when we talk about the mental, I don't mean a lunatic or somebody who's a lunatic. I'm talking about mind, human mind, and how human mind works, and what triggers someone to do something unthinkable. It is easy to label somebody a maniac or lunatic or nutcase. I understand that. That's easy to do. We can all do that and move on with our lives, and that's it. But is that going to cure the problem? That's my question. Is that going to cure the problem? No, it's not. It doesn't cure the problem. And the reason it doesn't cure the problem because you're masking the problem. All right, another lunatic. All right, moving on. Nothing to see here. Well, that's the issue. That's the problem. If you're just ignoring it like that, we need to figure out what is causing a person to go over the edge. What is causing a person to do the unthinkable. And I spoke about this on my live stream yesterday. And of course, we're all talking about the recent shootings in Las Vegas. My hearts and prayers goes out to the victims. And of course, I condemn any kind of act of violence. And of course, this person was sick, obviously. He was sick, he had some issues, some mental issues. Obviously, something was wrong with him. Something triggered him. So, it's one of those things that a person would wish. Like, I wish that there was a way for me. I wish that I knew this person so that I could stop him. So I can, of course he would be arrested, but lives would be saved. But at least I would be able to save him and those people and, have him go through some therapy or some kind of, I don't know, psychiatric help, And, but that's the hard thing to do. Because you don't know what's going on inside my mind. When you talk to your wife or when you talk to your girlfriend or your friend, that friend will probably tell you what you want to hear or is going to put on a smile but tell you what you want to hear. But you don't know what's going on inside his head, inside his mind. And that is what's scary to me. That's what scares me. What scares me is a completely normal person would get triggered and snapped and do something. Now, this person was planning this, of course. You don't just go up there and get all this stuff put in there, all these weapons. And this guy was planning this in his head for a long time. And that's what scares me. It scares me the people who are acting normal, but then they're planning stuff in their mind. And the question we have to ask ourselves, why are they doing that? Like, what's triggering this? Just like this other guy in Orlando that did this in the club. And I think we need to talk about this. I think we as a society need to figure out the way, what is causing someone to do something like this. Now, there's certain groups that are motivated. Like you got terrorism. Those are politically motivated groups of people. They have a motive. They have a political agenda as to why they're doing what they're doing, okay? But I'm talking about citizens, regular citizens, American regular citizens committing acts and atrocities. How does that happen? How does that happen? You have a person who in his entire life hasn't done anything bad, and now it's one of the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. So how do you go from being a good person your entire life, and then all of a sudden, boom, the worst mass shooting in U.S. history? So how did that happen? How does that happen? How do we get to that point? And I think that's something that we need to figure out as a society. What happens? Like, how did a person get triggered like that? And how do we treat ourselves? You know what I mean? Remember yesterday I said on the stream, I believe we always have a choice. You always have a choice, Like right now I'm driving, and if I see somebody, cars break down, or they need to change a tire, or I have a spare tire, or whatever, I'm going to help that person. Or he needs AAA. I have a AAA card. I can call a AAA and help him out, get it to his house or get it to the dealership or whatever. There's always a choice you can make to help people. And when you help that person, then that person's going to realize, well, wait a minute, things are not all that bad. People are actually good. And that person's going to try to do something good too for somebody else. You see, it's like a domino effect. The positivity flows. Floats. What I meant to say, it travels. I don't mean flaw, but I mean it floats. It goes from one person to another. If I do something positive for you, that's going to, like an energy, it's going to go and move on to another person and another person and another person. So positivity, it's like a wave that goes through in the air and then helps it touches other people. But if they don't feel that positivity, if everything is so negative for them, well, what do you expect them to feel? How do you tell me a logical conclusion if a person is always surrounded by negativity, if a person has some sort of negativity constantly happening to him, what do you think is going to happen to that person? His mental state of mind. If no one likes him, if no one's showing any compassion for him, if he never gets any hugs, if he feels lonely and if he feels depressed, well, what do you think is going to happen to that person? All sorts of things can happen, and I think that's the whole point I'm trying to make here. And I don't think we think about that as a society. And I think we should talk about that. And I think it's good to talk about it. Some people say, well, I don't want to talk about it. Well, why? Why do you want to ignore it? Why you don't want to talk about it? I think it's good if we talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's try to figure this out. Like, what's causing a person to do unthinkable? What's causing a person to be in that kind of state of mind? I'm optimistic. I believe there's always a solution. But if we're not trying, if we're not even trying, then of course it's gonna be status quo, same as usual, business as usual. Well, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be a business as usual. You have to think about the future of your children. What about your children? What kind of future are you living for your children? We need to figure this out, because we cannot be living in this kind of society of fear, society of whether you're afraid to go to a movie theater or a concert. We have to figure this out, and we need to talk about it. It should be talked about. And I'm not trying to give this person any kind of like leverage or anything like that, but we need to talk about it as to why is this happening, because you can't say this is normal, because obviously it's not normal. You can't put this anywhere on the list of normal. This is far and beyond of normal, and we have utmost responsibility to make sure that we as a society look after each other. Okay, so your colleague at work, talk to him. Tell him, hey, you want to talk about this? Let's talk about it. What's troubling you? Talk about it, man. Hey, I'll stop by your house today. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Believe me, it will help. It will help. It'll change his mind. Or whatever it is that was going on in his head, whatever it is that he was planning in his head, he'll change it. Because you intervened. You came in and he's like, well, wait a minute.